Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andy's Crypto Talk. We're in the house here. Sorry about the little delay. I'm just checking my levels here. Gotta make sure we're all good. Give me 2 secs. Okay, levels looking good, and we're ready to start here. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Check out the links in the description. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you choose to. That would help me out and help out the channel. As you can see, we have the knight. He's resting. Just like we all have been resting. Just like crypto, stocks, everything like that has been resting. So we're taking a look at S&P. That's what I wanted to start with. Just because we can see this major recovery that's brought us almost to these all-time highs. And this is a very key decision point. I don't know where my lines actually are on, because I do have lines on here. There they are. We just needed a little update. So, looking at the sharper downtrend, that was broken, in between this sort of moment between April 5th and 7th is kind of when the decision point of, are we breaking this downtrend? And that happened swiftly, right? We got this pump on, it would have been Tuesday, and that was a strong move in the stock market, right? Then we created a flag up here. Let me get out the pen. So strong move up, created a flag, strong move out of there, created another flag, and this time it broke down. But as you can see, it swept this liquidity and came right back up. Now, once it did that, it had a continuous strong move, right? So from yesterday, gap down in the open of futures, we've been up only. And that recovered, almost 200 points in the S&P, which is a big move. This is a big move, right? And now we're at this pivotal decision point. As we see a lot of news, headlines, things about Iran, things about US, and we're at this decision point in the markets. Things like Qs are actually stronger based off their high downtrends breaking on the Tuesday and then continuing on up. They're still not all-time highs though, so definitely keeping an eye out for that. And something like the VIX, which we do talk about, it's under this danger line of 22. As we can see, it did gap down, would have been on the Tuesday, right? Gap down, and it stayed down here. Showing here a crossover and these lines opening up, showing a potential trend on at least what we're looking at is the 4-hour. I did want to look at these on a higher time frame and just speak of how this greenness that we have, it didn't go purple like it would here. It's actually just a wide open, right? So even if it did kind of stay flat and got a little squeezy, I think there's still easy potential for upside on these markets. Now, looking at that, and we see the green is just continuous. It actually didn't lose this channel for very long, maybe for a few days total, and back on we go. The one chart, the Russell, is one that I wanted to pay attention to right now as well, because we can see this on the weekly. It's up in these highs, right? Whoops. Yeah, we're using a free version now. We don't really need that paid for at the moment. So broken the flag, making its way up into these highs. You know, that's the one thing to say is, you know, that all of these are coming in on resistance points. All this volume that's being traded up here is resistance, and of course resistance points could potentially lead to further downside. Now, one thing to note is the sell in May, right? This is our May. So could we see maybe like a push into the highs, maybe a spike up and then back down, and then a little sell in May and walk away? And then, you know, it forms a bigger sort of flag channel, whatever you want to call it here, and then does this at a later point. That's something else to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, realistically, we're here for crypto, not for stocks, so I'm not gonna bore you guys with stocks for too much longer. I don't want this to be a very big stream, like very long, I should say. We're just gonna kind of rip through some things that I want to talk about, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. So oil, you know, that also we saw this catastrophic pump in oil that caused sort of chaos in the markets throughout. Regardless, again, we're here for crypto, so let's take a look. Bitcoin, you know, let's look at it on the weekly. We did get this shift, and so we are technically in a bearish trend downwards now. You know, is it going to be more like this where it lasts a lot longer? Or can we flip and then flip back up? Because that's totally possible that this could curve around. You know, the lower one would go back up, and that one would go like that, and then we would see it go green and up to the upside. Now that's what I would look for as kind of near-term resistance point is in this sort of 84 region. It kind of makes sense with this sort of area here and this sort of area here, right, to hit these resistance points, underside retest, so to speak. But looking at a more near-term chart of Bitcoin, because that's kind of what we're here for, since we did talk about Bitcoin just a few weeks ago. So we don't need to beat the dead horse about long-term views. I just want to talk about more near-term views. So we have this long downward trend that, you know, we talked about this one sort of beginning of April here. We were looking at, whoops, don't want to touch that thing. We were looking at pushing this near-term trend and breaking it, which, you know, it did do good at first, but then it did have quite a major correction, which kept us underneath this line that I have here. That's the sort of like higher lows that we were seeing, right? Higher lows until this point where it broke that, and it broke this low. But if we look at it in a constructive manner, we are technically still making higher lows. And then, you know, we have a high, higher high, higher high. Now this being the low, we want to see a higher high above this area. So we need to clear that area, make a little flag, and then I think it's, you know, easily off to the races into this 84, and we should see price movement happen fairly succinctly. Like, you want to see it step up, so to speak. But again, you know, seeing this big blue line that I had lined in here for a long time, 73,883. Let's see actually if we can see where its origin was. We're looking at this high here, right? So that was when Bitcoin did this big run. That was its peak for the moment, and then it corrected. Then we had another run, corrected. Then the final run, and now we're on what everyone is calling the bear market, which, I mean, sure, if you want to get technical, we have been in a large bear trend. So now it is a big decision point on these markets. Do we see Bitcoin at a pivotal decision point? Considering that we see these candles starting to go green, that's again saying that this is shifting. Right? We can see that purple shifting and a potential for something like this. Right? It's not going to look as clean as that. It'll be like, you know, kind of like that. More like swirly. More like what you see here, right? It's going to have some texture to it, not just straight lines. But regardless, a very important point, and you know, I think at a near term, we're looking at this guy right here, right? So let's put that on there. Good. It's around 76K. You know, once we can make it above there and form something, this is going to be what I consider fairly easy long to at least this underside sort of zone. Yeah, probably like that. So this is the 80 to 84 region that I'm looking for Bitcoin to push up into in the near term. Again, assuming no crazy news like nukes happen. And that, I'm just going to leave that on the chart, those two lines, so that we can signify this is the zone. And we'll add some text. So that's the zone we're looking for here. Now, again, sell in main, walk away. It's very possible that with the strength that we see something like that. Maybe a sell-off, right? Summertime sell-off is totally possible, totally in the cards. Now, that having been said, depending on all the macro factors and things that are involved with liquidity, the SEC chair changing. I mean, there's lots of things that could keep it going up once it does get to our zone. But this is the zone that we're looking for. This is the zone that we are anticipating the price to move into. Again, assuming that nothing crazy happens. So yeah, I hope that kind of covers it pretty clearly. The one thing I was looking at is BTC dominance. You know, we did see it fall off, but then it's retesting this sort of, oh, tool here. Lower trend line. It tested it, broke down underneath. Is it going to make its way back up to attempt a push? Or, you know, again, a very strong inflection point right around this 59.5% sort of area. So seeing a push down here, I think we could see a major sort of move to the downside. But again, it could just sort of sideways action for a little while, for all we know. A lot of things dependent, right? So news being a major catalyst, that's why my title is US versus Iran. You know, it is definitely for the clickbait. I will 100% say that that's a big part of it. Same with the thumbnail. Like, let's get people clicking. We need more viewers on this channel. So I am willing to take those leaps of faith But as we can see, we're seeing the purple bars just like on Bitcoin. We were seeing the green bars, right? So this is testing this flag. It is in a precarious place for the USDT dominance. So this again, when this goes down, crypto goes up. When this goes up, crypto goes down in general, because this is people moving into risk off dollars. But the one thing I'll say here is that, this is looking pretty rollover-y. It's looking like a big McDonald's M to make its way back to this blue line around the 6.5%. We're up at 7.4 right now, and that's our danger line, right? So again, once we move past this danger line, we saw some major moves up. So that would have been 30th of January. So if we look at Bitcoin, 30th of January, right there, 30th of January, it's in the free fall, right? So dropped from 80 to 59. And I'm sure anybody in the crypto market would remember that type of stuff. So we would be happy to see this collapse here, especially if it can get under this low, right around 7.2, 7.19%. I think major rejection right down to there. And that would proceed to see Bitcoin just go directly up. They're correlated in that sense that if one's going down, the other's going up. One of the big movers of the day, see which one I got some lines on. Looks like I don't have lines on. Oh yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so we got some lines here. But look, you can see Ethereum actually poked here above this. So this is looking really good for, again, we were looking at the Russell earlier. This is altcoins strength. So altcoin strength is going to be apparent when things like Ethereum, the number 2 crypto, takes off. And I think, Tom Lee's about to look like a genius pretty soon here, right? So the true trend line without putting anything in between it, that's it right there. But a more near-term downtrend line, again, is broken. A correction after breaking the first time, and then pretty serious move up out of there. So seeing this 32.85 line that I've got marked in here from way back here. Okay, I don't need that. So looking at this line that I had marked since, a long time ago, kind of as the median line of strength or weakness. As you can see underneath it, it's always been weakness. Over top of it has pretty much always been strength. This is kind of where we look at for Ethereum to see where its decision point is, whether it's strength or weakness. And I think that it looks like at this point, it's going to take this in some way or form all the way up to these areas. Now, worst case we're looking at is like around here, this sort of zone. I would say, between 2,800 and 2,600. So that's the first zone I would look for Ethereum to move to and make a decision. Is it going to move up, or is it going to break back down and sell in May and walk away sort of thing, right? If it does sell off, potentially lower prices this year, because we wouldn't want to see it break underneath this. If it does, then again, it would look like this, and we would have a big leg to the downside. Wow, I don't know if it's going to go this low. This is that's a crazy low leg. I don't think it's going to go that low, but it looks like it, right? Like it looks like it's going to go low. The only thing I think that would keep it alive is not going underneath these lows. But if it went under those lows, like, sorry guys, Ethereum's pretty hurt. Because look at this, right? You can see this is what's holding Ethereum up, is this lower sort of line. Because if we compress the price down, you know, that's the channel we're in right now. And it is actually an uptrend on a larger time frame, right? Since the 21 high to the 25 high, from the 22 low to the 25 low. And it is uptrending. Even the higher one, even this top line is actually going up a little bit. So we're just looking for that oscillation back up from Ethereum. And that's, again, Tommy Lee would look like, or Tom Lee, I should say, would look like a genius at that point. But again, outperforming on the daily move, it had an 8% move where BTC only had a 5.2. Again, the size of them, that makes a big difference. The one thing I said in my chat is that I believe Solana will outperform. It doesn't look like it is doing it right away. You know, it did have a 6% move, which is a little bit better than Bitcoin, but not as good as Ethereum. But technically, if we pull up that chart from, you know, years ago, what goes first, right? So Bitcoin goes first, then it's the big caps like Ethereum, Solana, XRP, BNB. You know, we have Hype now in that top 10, Tron, right? So these things are things to pay attention to after we see Bitcoin make its move, which it's looking like it's making its move, right? So keep an eye on these guys for the next sort of movers. Total's going to look just like that. Total's going to look just like that. Where do we have that from? I think those are just kind of lines in the sand that we have drawn on there. Total 2, again, total 2 looking really nice. Breaking up, can we clear that 1.05 trillion? And it's off to the races. Total 3, again, not looking quite as strong because Ethereum's not in there. So Ethereum's going to start lifting the altcoins. Now, one altcoin in particular I've been talking about a lot, Winternomics. You know, we talked about this sort of beginning of April, right? We were down here in this low between 1.9, 1.6 mil. This would have been the day that we talked about it in this sort of downtrend. But we had already broken the flag. I talked about the flag is broken, and now we're just seeing if it's able to correct. And we see this, you know, ascension. What's going on with my mouse? We see this ascension happening here. Right? It broke that parabolic. And now we had another correction. Now we'll see potentially another big parabolic move. And then again, another flag, another correction. So keep an eye on this. This is starting to make its move in large candles. I mean, this candle right here on the hourly, 66%. Yeah, mind you, it corrected, you know, 21 and then another 8. So like, you know, 30% or more with this included. Definitely corrected 30% or more from that candle. But we can see there is interest in this now. The utility, talk about utility was introduced in this sort of area here, I believe it was. I think somewhere between beginning of March and mid-March. And that's when we seen it really start moving you know, it got up to 3.5 mil from the lows around 300K, right? So this did a 10x just in this move, and it was just based off the announcement even of what's coming for utility with this. Again, you know, we had this longer sort of correction, but this was to clear out weak hands, ones that have been sitting maybe potentially even since here. This is a long time frame, 2nd of November all the way to, you know, 16th of March to hold a position in underwater. Like people are going to look to exit. That's why we seen this like a massive candle. I mean, this was a huge buy, 100K clipping into the chart and then exiting 67K, exited the chart. So we could see that there was shaky hands, so to speak. But this is very good accumulation consolidation type play. Whoever did buy from 1st of December till 14th of March in this zone, they're laughing at this point, because this is just going to continue, I believe, on this nice trend. Let's look at it. I want to zoom out, because if we zoom out on the weekly, this looks absolutely phenomenal, right? Like if you've seen this on a 4-hour chart, you'd be like, damn, FOMO, I'll buy that. And that's why I'm looking at this as an interest point, right? That's an interest point for me, for this thing to flip and close above. I want to see it flip and close above there, right? I mean, it could go like above it and then do this, right? Something like that, and then we would see some major pushes, potentially even over all-time high, retest all-time high, and then continue on up from there. Sorry, my drawing's horrible on this for some reason. It gets all blotchy. But regardless, zooming out, looking at that weekly, seeing these major candles in the last week, 116% and another 12. I mean, again, I was telling you in these lows, this is a very interesting point. Easy 2x from there, 2.5 potentially. If you were following my channel, you would have seen this day one when, you know, it ran up from very low 80K all the way up to 8.5 mil, right? So this did 100x in this first pump. And what they say of these types of coins, like altcoins, is there's a test pump and then there's a real pump, right? And this pump is gonna look, especially on, because I'm not on log. If I was on log, I mean, this looks crazy good on log. But what everybody else is looking at is this one. And when we reach these like 100 mil levels, this is just going to look like this. It's just going to be flat, right? And that's where you'll have the, you know, the bigger candles. It usually does it in 3. So 1, 2, 3. Something like that, right? But again, it's going to look minuscule. This was the start when this thing's way up there. But it'll be more like on the dailies, right? It'll look like that. That's the start. And it'll fill your screen, you know, and that's where you'll see. Something like that, right? Like first pump, second pump, third pump. And it could continue from there, because that can even start looking small if we get to these major milestones that something like Winternomics TV and what Winternomics has done for his ecosystem can create through what this token will give to the users, an access point to one of the, if not the best analyst in CT, in even the world. Definitely recommend go check out the Twitter, right? Check out KAZONOMICS, check out Winternomics, go to the website winternomics.tv. This will get you in on the ground floor. Oh, this is great. So this is just taking me to the pump fund, but we want to go to his website. Huh. There's a way to get to the blog. Just join the Discord, ask your questions in the Discord. You know, I think the Realnomics, this will have the Discord link. So go to the Realnomics on X, get the link, and go in there, ask your questions, see what the ecosystem's all about, and see what the greatest analysts catching some of the most amazing plays is all about. And this is what I'll leave you with: slowly, then all at once. Now, one thing that KAZONOMICS talks about is the value, right? So definitely just dive into the blog. He's got a blog. You can get the links in the Discord, and read the rule of Adam, and you know, ask in the Discord. They'll happily explain it to you, and you can understand where all of this power comes from. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna peace out for this evening. Thanks for tuning in, and again, remember to leave me a comment, like, share, sub, all that fun stuff, and we'll catch you in the next video. Hopefully we'll do it a little sooner than the last.